No NBA got you down, or no NFL. Man, fucked up that intro. Right away. No NFL got you down this Monday night. Well, good news. We got an NBA slate today. $5 entry fee, $100K to first place on DraftKings. We're doing what we always do here. Prepare, looking at projections, comparing mine to some of the industry leaders out there at Stokastic and Unabated. We're also going to run some sims, check some ownership projections, and get some prop betting markets with our friends at Unabated as well, finding the best bets today. But in this video, the must plays for today's January 6th NBA slate. Let's get after it. It's a snowy day in the Philadelphia area. I've been scraping driveways today, but kids off school. Hopefully you guys are doing okay where you are. Of course, the extra work, always fun to have here on a Monday. But is it a loaded NBA slate? Actually should have pulled up the Q-Tag tweet for today from Underdog because it is probably a very important Q-Tag slate if these guys do miss today. Let's go over here instead. Share this tab first. Questionable right now: Joel Embiid, Karl-Anthony Towns, RJ Barrett, Oscar Thompson, Ben Simmons, Kelly Oubre, D'Angelo Russell, Andre Jackson, Deuce McBride. Probable: Giannis, Jalen Brunson, DeAndre Ayton. Doubtful: Desmond Bane. Lots of value potentially on the Memphis side of the equation. Maybe not value at this point, but no Bane, no Morant. Things opening up a little bit more there. Point being, there's a lot of guys that we don't know the status of right now at 4 p.m. on the East Coast, and this stream is starting. So keep that in mind here. More we'll know. Of course, I'm doing the deeper dive in a little bit on Stokastic. More throughout the hours of the night. Of course, it goes on. Shout out to all you guys being here. Win DFS like the Jets win Super Bowls. There you go. Hey, guys. Appreciate y'all being here. Been on a heater. Love to hear that. Shout out Sotex being here as well. Happy Mondays indeed. All right, your top projected guy on the day for me is Giannis Antetokounmpo. 59.3 fantasy points for me, 57.2 for Stokastic. I'm going to be in 39% of my sim lineups right now. My top 150, you're getting him in 17% according to the field. So no Jokic slate. That does mean I'm going to get Giannis a little bit more. I'm doing better projected today than Victor Wembanyama, though he is $200 more expensive. Wemby, Stokastic has Wemby higher than Giannis, so there's a difference point between me and those projections right up top there. 30% Wembanyama for the field. I'm getting him at 14%. Wemby projects well enough for me, so I'll have him over a 5x value, so I have no issue with you getting to Wemby today. I just think Giannis is like the better play overall. Matchup-wise for Milwaukee, going into a spot against a soft Toronto team. For Wemby on his side, you do have a matchup with Chicago. So really both spots pretty good. Chicago, one of those ones people attack every single slate, like a Washington. It's definitely going to lead to more casual ownership as well. But definitely does seem like a spot where you have a good amount of Wembanyama going in the field. I prefer Giannis, but I don't think you're choosing wrong necessarily between either guy. Karl-Anthony Towns, if you did have Brunson out again, it would look a little bit better. Towns himself, questionable too. That said, Towns 11% right now, assuming that he does play. I'm at a 51.1 projection. Stokastic has him at 48.9. It's going to be a 2% owned play by the field today. I would like to get more here. Those are your only guys above 10K today are Giannis, Wemby, and Towns. Towns the cheapest one, similar upside. But again, having Brunson in does cap the upside a little bit more. Cade Cunningham looking okay with no Jaden Ivey. 27% of the field will be there today. 23% of my top 150 lineups have him as well. Cade Cunningham, in terms of court time without Jaden Ivey, does seem a market improved player overall. He's got 34% usage, 47% assist rate, 10% rebound rate, 1.45 fantasy points per minute for Cade Cunningham. So a little bit cheaper than these guys. The rate's a little bit lower as well. But Cade certainly at any matchup can get you where you need to go if he is getting a competitive spot overall. And Detroit playing Portland. So if anything, you would expect Detroit maybe to put a beat down in Portland here. They are only a 6.5 point favorite. So markets to expect a competitive game. Cade Cunningham getting their competitive spot. Always a reasonable assumption to have. Joel Embiid, questionable right now. I juked his rates up to do the thing we always do for Joel Embiid, where he hasn't played that well so far this year, but he has played well enough since the team lecture, the Tyrese Maxey lecture that was leaked to the media. That said, he hasn't played enough games. So the sample size hasn't really caught up. As a result, for me, I have to knock Joel Embiid's rates back to what he played at last year, which was a much better player. For this year, though, he'll be projected a little bit better by Stokastic. 53.6 is their projection. I'm at 50.2. I got into 4% of my lineups. The field has been 27%. So Towns and Embiid, neither of them priority plays for me. I'm getting more Towns and Embiid, about 3x. But really, centers paying up at center, well, less of paying for Wemby, not happening quite as much. But a lot of pay up center ownership here when you have Embiid going for 27%, Wemby 30%. Kind of a pretty clear way the field's going to be going today. And Giannis can be played at power forward too, so that obviously going to change things a little bit for him. Sabonis, not so. The Heat Kings game is not on the DraftKings main slate, not on the FanDuel main slate, I believe, either. So I'm just going to skip over it. But Sabonis, if you are playing a DK late slate or the FanDuel slate, or I guess a FanDuel late slate as well, Sabonis looks pretty good. Jaren Jackson, without Bane, without Morant, looks a little bit better here. I'd have him about 1.4 fantasy points minute today. That said, Grizzlies minutes tend to be a little bit lower overall. These guys don't get to the mid-30s, high 30s quite as much as some other teams. The field will be there about 22%. I'm getting them 15%, but not really a big stand there. The biggest stand I have for the guys on this first screen where we're sorting by projection, Goga Bitadze has benefited quite a bit in so far this year of the court time without Franz Wagner, without Jalen Suggs, who's also out today, without Paolo Banchero, who remains out. In court time without those guys on the court, Bitadze's only had 290 possessions, but his average 20% usage, a 23% rebound rate, 21% assist rate, 1.2 fantasy points per minute. I'm going to be a little bit higher on Goga today than the field. Goga looks like he'll be played about 1% in the field. I'm getting him at 17% of my lineups. He's a little bit expensive at 7,300, but the Magic have no guys left. That's why Cole Anthony's on the thumbnail today. Somebody has to get shots. Goga is a guy that, even though he's not like a shot creator in the guard sense, he's a guy that'll get his own shot up, find ways to put up shots. So for Goga Bitadze, I think he's worth the exposure here. 20-minute projection, though, not the highest in the world for him. Let's sort by value. Don't go game by game here after we take a quick look at this. Value going to be dominated by Cole Anthony, probably be dominated by D'Angelo Russell as well for me. Let's see what we get there right now. So Cole Anthony, 83% played by the field today, according to Stokastic data. Basically, the logic here is 4,900. You have no Jalen Suggs out there. You have Anthony Black, who maybe takes some minutes away. But overall, Cole Anthony is one of a handful of guys. I would say it's him, Bitadze, and KCP as more of a wing player who can get their shot. And even KCP at this point, I mean, he's going to try to shoot. Probably not that good at getting it himself. So that said, for Orlando, that's the reason you're playing these guys. The total for Orlando is not the highest in the world. I believe they're under 100 today. You had 99 implied points playing at the Knicks. Knicks a 12-point favorite. So if you want to get away from Cole Anthony, you can make the case here the Knicks just blow him off the court. If Cole Anthony's not hitting his shot, they probably lose that game and do get blown out. Obviously hard to predict that stuff, but I would say that, just given the lack of shot creators, if Cole Anthony completely fails, he's probably going to kill the entire team. So with him being 83% owned, that's your way to get around him. But that said, he's too cheap. I have him for 34.6 fantasy points today. So Stokastic has him for 34.4. The rates for Cole Anthony with all these guys off the court from the Magic today, again, Suggs, Franz Wagner, and Banchero. Cole Anthony's played 550 possessions, so he's in the safe zone rate-wise. 31.7% usage, 34% assist rate, 1.2 fantasy points per minute. So if the Magic especially stay in that game, hang in there till the fourth quarter, and still lose by their 12 points as expected, Cole Anthony is probably a driving force of that, and he might actually have a higher ceiling that I'm giving him credit for right here, and Stokastic as well. So Cole Anthony, obviously, you want to get away from the chalk. He's the way to get away from the chalk today. He just also looks like one of the best plays we've had in the slate in a while, probably. But he is one of those, Michichi kind of plays where the minutes can move away. The main thing for him, though, is that he's going to get a shot no matter what. It's not like one of those guys who kind of will fall into the background. Cole Anthony's going to chuck. That's just kind of what he does. D'Angelo Russell for him, the rate's been pretty good. I gave him a big rate bump, so I'm higher than Stokastic on him today. I've at 37.6 minutes for D'Angelo Russell, or 37.6 projection points instead of 33.5 for them. The main thing that stood out to me with Russell so far, he's played 113 possessions, so not where we want to be, but a 54% assist rate for him at 25% usage, about 1.45 fantasy points per minute for Russell so far. Assuming that he plays, to me, he's one of the best plays in the slate. Price tag at 5,500 is probably not high enough. He seems to me like probably about a 7K guy. So we're just talking about a mispriced player, has started as well for the Nets lately. So for D'Angelo Russell, you have no Cam Thomas, no Cam Johnson as well. No Schroeder, obviously, there at this point. Simmons, we'll see if he plays. But basically for Russell, assuming that he goes, I think he looks like a strong play in the spot. Quentin Grimes, the other guy who I tend to have more of when there's no Luka and Kyrie out there than the field does. I'm giving him 29% of my top 150 lineups compared to 7% for the field. Grimes, we saw him. Well, the reason I get Grimes is what we saw in the second half of one of the Mavs games lately, where he put up about 20 fantasy point, or 20 real life points rather in the third quarter, just opening right from the half. Took a bunch of shots, was the only competent player left. It was a game where they subbed Dinwiddie out and then basically played Jaden Hardy at point guard, which I don't know if that's going to happen again, but Dinwiddie's minutes a little bit riskier. Grimes is out there. He's a competent enough player. Court time without Luka and Kyrie this year, he's averaging 0.99 fantasy points a minute, so just shy of 1. 20% usage, 15% assist rate for Quentin Grimes as well. Basically, there's so many possessions left behind when you don't have Luka and Kyrie out there. Somebody's got to get going. Grimes can kind of get his own shot. Certainly better than Klay Thompson can at this stage, even though Thompson's going to, I'm sure, get some usage up. So for Grimes, especially if you get Hardy out there, he's going to have to shoot more because Hardy, I think, also can't create his own shot. Dinwiddie, for as many failings, still a guy that can actually get shots, get buckets out there. Isaiah Stewart, okay value play as the backup center for Detroit, $3,500 salary. Batate would have as the top value despite the $7,300 salary. Denny Avdia, 44% of lines for me. No Jeremy Grant again. As long as Avdia is not too expensive, you keep playing him. When you have Jeremy Grant out, it's generally the way that I view it. I have him at a 37-point projection. Stokastic has him at 36. They're getting him for the field 30%. I got him in 44% of my lineups. Higher on Scottie Pippen, more minutes to go around with no Bane, no Morant. A little more secure production theoretically, but still only a 29.5-minute projection for Scottie Pippen Jr. today. Malik Beasley, more court time with no Jaden Ivey. Obviously going to be gone for a while with that broken fibula. So for Malik Beasley, an okay play here. Probably feels a little bit better if you're not getting Cade Cunningham, but still playable no matter what. Getting a competitive game for the Pistons we're expecting there today based on the total. And I think that's it. Devin Vassell, semi-value here at 6,100. Tobias Harris, he's been a little bit more productive with Ivy off the court lately. Been averaging about 0.95 fantasy points a minute, I believe. 0.94 with 18% usage, 12% rebound rate, 10% assist rate. So Tobias Harris looking better lately. But that's how the value looks so far. So your crazy values in the day are Cole Anthony, D'Angelo Russell. I would say Cole Anthony, the risk of the blowouts there, but probably one of the best value plays we've had in terms of secure minutes. They're just down a lot of bodies now, down a lot of usage, and Cole Anthony will soak that up. He's going to get you 30 minutes, and he played over 30 recently for Orlando as well. All right, game by game here, guys. If you appreciate this content, please show some love here. We're on that march to 1,000 subs at this point. I thought 500 would get us where we needed to go. We need to get to 1,000. So please hit the like button, subscribe. It goes a long way for me. Just one guy running an NBA channel, an NFL channel. A lot of work to go on with both of those all year round. But I do it here gleefully, as you can see, all the glee in my face. But I do have a lot of fun doing this. It brings me joy. Hopefully it brings you some value. And of course, it's a big tournament tonight on DraftKings. So I'll be getting it probably good 30 entries in a night, just accounting for the fact that I don't want to have to late swap around while doing kid bedtime stuff, but go check it out. And of course, support our sponsors too. Underdog, $1,000 in bonus cash. Stokastic, 15% off. Link description. That's all their data, all their tools. And it's in perpetuity as well. So one of the best deals you will get with Stokastic, 15% off with the promo code SPLASH. Unabated, click that down below as well. $30 off, our presenting sponsor of this show. And the Solver, if you want to check that out too, please go ahead and do that. All right. Game by game here. Portland, 108.8 implied points. Detroit, 115.3 implied points. And Unabated 2, we'll look at the betting markets at the halfway point of the show at about 4:30. So stay tuned for that. Denny Avdia, 44% for him, 30% for the field. Talked about that already. In the matchup versus Detroit, the slightest of a pace up for Portland here. Not a high-paced game, but decent enough for both sides. Also, neither team that good. You don't expect there to be a blowout here. Even though Detroit, I'd say, looking a little bit better lately than Portland does in general. But Avdia, not a value here. Your biggest issue is really giving up a lot of ownership in this early game. And if you got Joel Embiid out, all those Q-tag guys that we showed up top, if you missed a lot of those guys today, Embiid, things like that, it would be tough to be kind of locked down in terms of your positionality from burning 30% usage on Tobias Harris, 27% on Cade, 30% on Avdia, 21% on Simons. So that's me my one warning for this game here. It's the early game, and it is one where better value could open up, and these kind of ownership right now is pushing you to a lot of these guys so far. You're like the SEO, and the title feels like a smash title to get the algo. Thank you. Thank you for your feedback on the SEO. Anthony Simons, I'm getting less for him. 21% for the field. I'm getting him in 1%. Simons, to me, not getting the big rate bump overall without Jeremy Grant in his court time this year. Simons, 24% usage, 20% assist rate, 1 fantasy point per minute. That's okay. I would have him. I'm a little bit low on him today. I have him at 0.87. I'm not sure why that is. I think it's because Simons technically he's got lower usage when Jeremy Grant's off the court. That could be a small sample size thing, even though it has been 660 possessions, which should be more than enough to feel stable about it. For Simons, I'm not buying it right now. I know he's had some decent games lately. Maybe a blind spot for me, but Simon's just been so bad this year, and my projections do weight performance this year a little bit higher. But having Grant out of the way does open up enough usage that if you want to chase Simon's ownership, you can. I'm really not, though. I got 1% there compared to 21% for Simons for the field. Avdia hogs the ball. He does. I mentioned this actually the other day when we were talking about Jeremy Grant being out. Avdia will rip a rebound, take it down court, not even look for a guard. He'll try to either start a possession himself or take a shot himself. So yeah, that is part of it as well. But yeah, like Simons, there's opportunity theoretically for him, but if Avdia keeps playing like he normally does, you probably get a little bit less upside for Simons than I think this ownership gives you. That's a lot of ownership for Simons. He's been really shit on the year too. 55% true shooting for him is not good. Like one of the reasons he got signed was he had like 61% true shooting, stuff like that. And yeah, Avia does turn the ball over too. That's fair. DeAndre Ayton looking okay here. 14% for me, 8% for the field. Tomani Kamara, 12% for me, 9% for the field. But again, it's a game here. You're getting some pieces. Having your night be made or broken by these guys a little bit tough. Obvious, so well projected for me. Like, he's one guy I'm willing to kind of give up the flexibility for. For everybody else here, though, you are giving up a lot of flexibility. And, there's going to be some late swap options potentially. For Detroit, Cade Cunningham, 27% for the field, 23% for me. Talked about him already and his boost that he gets with Jaden Ivey off the court. This becomes, a more appropriate, I think, permanent player for he's priced at generally. Jalen Duren, not getting any of him. The field will be their 3%. Your term option, even though always hard to play him. Malik Beasley, 20% for me, 12% for the field. Does gain a little bit with Ivy being out. Definitely more in the minute side. Projected for just shy of 30 minutes today. Tobias Harris, 30% for the field, 26% for me. Again, performing at about a 0.94 fantasy point minute rate without Ivy on the court this year. He's projected for 33 minutes as well at 5,400. I get it with Tobias Harris. And he's shown a little bit of ceiling lately. I still don't trust him because he does kind of come in, come out a little bit in some of these games and always kind of has for teams. But for Harris at this point, cheap enough here. I get it. Oscar Thompson, he's got a Q tag on him now. Looked like a good value at small forward, power forward. Only 24-minute projection for him, but an okay play here. 13% for the field, 11% for me. And Isaiah Stewart coming up a little bit as a value, but again, another guy here where there might be better value that opens up. You might not want to tie yourself up with an Isaiah Stewart in the first game. Phoenix, 109.5 implied points. This will be a quick one to make up some time. Philadelphia, 112.5. And also going to be going game by game on Stokastic coming up at 5 p.m. as well, East Coast time. I'll be with my pal Josh Engelman on there, so check that out. But of course, this stream, you get just my takes unfiltered. There we have a little more of a debate about it, and Josh gets to mock me for my projections. Only to end up being wrong. I mean, usually, I don't know. It's honestly probably 50-50. That's how that goes. Phoenix, 109.5 implied points. Nothing for me here. Rumors that Beal and Nurkic going to come off the bench. I think projections are currently accounting for that with Nurkic only getting 20 minutes here. If you do see Nurkic not starting, Beal not starting, it's not quite the same situation as it is when Plumlee starts and you have like Nurkic out because you're still expecting to get Nurkic about 20 minutes. For Plumlee here, they have him at 42 minutes or combined rather. These guys have 42 minutes. Plumlee, they have a 22. So basically like, that's all your center minutes. For Plumlee, when you have Nurkic out, it's kind of a different situation because there's no real backup center there. They'll play Iguodaro a little bit at center, but like he's not really a center and doesn't do a whole lot out there. So for these guys, I don't think the situation for Phoenix actually gets better by moving the rotation around. But you probably have a little more usage for Durant and Booker in terms of being tournament plays. But for me, hard to get there at their price tags on DK. They just don't project that well. Philadelphia on their side, as I mentioned before, I'm low on Embiid, a little bit higher on Paul George. His minutes per minute numbers have been pretty good on the year, relative to that price tag at 7,100. And he is shooting guard, small forward. So Paul George, I'm okay with here. Would certainly look infinitely better if you get Joel Embiid out. Same thing for Tyrese Maxey, but right now, assuming Embiid is in, you're getting about 33 minutes. If that's the case, though, I'm low on Embiid, 4% for me, 27% for the field. High on Paul George with 17% compared to 9% for the field. Nobody else are popping up too much besides some tournament shares of Maxey and the also questionable Kelly Oubre. Indiana, 116.3 implied points. Brooklyn, 106.3. Tyrese Halliburton, a guy that I'm always a little bit low on. It's the case again today. I'm at 38.8. Stokastic has been 40.9. As a result, I'm getting him barely in my top 150 lineups. He'll be 2% owned for the field. Does it hurt Dunn's usage? I mean, it does. He's not really a high usage guy anyway, but yes, but he's averaging 15% usage on the year, so he's just going to be slightly worse, but he's played enough the starting unit. I don't think it matters that much for him. And for Indiana, nothing here stands out too much. Getting a little bit of Nembhard, a little bit of Mathurin, a little bit of Obi Toppin, a little bit of TJ McConnell, nothing really besides tournament options here. The field's going to be on Siakam about 16%, not looking that great to me. But Indiana, again, a team that I'm low on. They're not as fast-paced as they were last year. They're not a team that has really easy usage to kind of carve up. Nobody, again, above 23% usage on the team besides McConnell. As a result, these guys are just always low for me. If they hit in a tournament, it could happen. Halliburton under 5% owned. He's 8,400. You could take that shot. Siakam, a little bit more appropriately owned at 15.5%. Turner, Mathurin, I feel like appropriately owned. But Halliburton, people could take that shot. I don't want to spook you guys off Halliburton entirely because he does hit sometimes. For me, though, I'm not there, but on the slate where he's under 5% owned, this is the kind of days where he does hit. He never hits his chalk, I feel like. He does hit when he is this kind of owned and playing a shitty team too. Brooklyn on their side, Ben Simmons, we'll see if he goes. D'Angelo Russell, we'll see if he goes. If they don't go this team's going to look completely different. You'll open up more opportunity for basically everybody left. A guy like Reese Beekman at a certain point might have to play too. You probably should get more Keon Johnson, I would think. You don't have Shake Milton there anymore. So if you got D'Angelo Russell and Simmons out, it would look kind of weird with no Cam Thomas, no Cam Johnson already for this team. As it is right now, with D'Angelo Russell expected to play, again, I gave him a rate boost here. He's been assisting like a monster, both in court time without Russell, or without Anthony Davis, without LeBron in his previous stint. And now for the Nets, just in general, has been having about a 55% assist rate. So I kept them with that rate overall. As a result, I have him at 1.26 fantasy points per minute, which is a little bit high. So I'm at 37.6 fantasy points compared to 33.5 for Stokastic. As a result, I'm getting him in about 93% of my lineups, which I can live with today. I think he's a good play if he's in. Obviously, if he's not in, he's not a good play. Everything else here, not really a factor. Day'Ron Sharpe, your backup center value here, like Jalen Smith has been in the past. We've highlighted these guys a lot. Backup centers on slate, so there isn't really true value. Always come up a little bit more because they're good per minute producers, and you don't need to get the full run of minutes for them to get there. And if, God forbid, they get some actual backup minutes where they get to fill in for a guy who's in foul trouble, and like Claxton can sometimes do, they can pay off a little bit more. But Sharpe, 15% owned for the field. I got him at 9%. I don't need any more than that, really. Orlando, we talked about Cole Anthony already. Goga Bitadze, I took my stand there already. If you missed it before in the video, Bitadze, just the rates pop up a little bit more for him. About a 20% usage guy, over a 23% rebound rate, 20% assist rate. Bitadze just gets to kind of do what he normally wants to do, just get every possession for himself. When you don't have guys out there like Banchero, no Suggs, no Franz Wagner, still no Vo Wagner, obviously, with his knee injury. So Orlando just depleted at this point. But I think it benefits Bitadze. You do run the risk of Orlando getting smoked because they just don't have the dogs to stay competitive with really good teams. The Knicks have been a good team for most of this year. So for Bitadze, I'll take the shot. 17% ownership for me, 1% for the field. Cole Anthony, he's your chalk play of the day, 83% for the field. I'm getting him in 93% of my lineups. You could fade him if you want. I think you want to fade him more in a Knicks blowout build. Yeah, probably for me, like if you're playing any Knicks, I feel like you maybe want Cole Anthony in there. But maybe Karl-Anthony Towns initiates a blowout or something. But with the Knicks being priced where they are, Brunson at 9K, Hart at 8K, even Bridges and Anunoby, 6K to 7K. I think with these guys, you kind of need there to be 4 quarters of production going against Orlando. So certainly guys can get there in a blowout as well, but I'd worry about like Towns at his price tag paying off if he doesn't play that last 4-quarter stint. But yeah, Orlando, I think you got to play him, take the shot, but they're live to get smoked because they're one of the least talented teams in the league right now. Still really well coached, still should be a good defense, but like there's got nobody. Nobody actually has the ability to like soak usage up and be a good player besides Cole Anthony and maybe Bitadze to a lesser extent. Anthony Black maybe do a little bit more, but he hasn't shown it yet. Milwaukee, 118.5 implied points. Orlando, 111.5 on their side. Getting 39% Giannis with the value on the slate. I've met the 59.3 projection. Stokastic has been 57.2. I am higher on Giannis than I am on Wemby. That is something for me. It is the flip side for Stokastic's data. So just keep that in mind here. But Giannis being power forward center, easier to get him in lineups as well. A match with Toronto, I think nothing you're really too afraid of defensively there. Maybe Pirtle keeping him off the glass a little bit, but it's Giannis. Like, what does that matter? 7-point spread as well on the road, favoring Milwaukee. So should be a competitive game as well. Really, it's just Giannis or bust here. I'll get him more. You make the case just to knock him down, try to get Wemby more, but it is what it is for me. I just let the projection set kind of ride. For Toronto on their side, quickly 17% sim exposure for me. My top 150 lineups. If you get RJ Barrett out, quickly would look even better. Scotty Barnes would look borderline playable. He does not look playable to me here with his $9,500 salary. When you have Barrett and quickly in, both guys have taken a lot of usage off the table so far this year. Jakob Poeltl, 19% sim rate for me in my top 150. This would be 15% compared to 8% for the field. For Poeltl, okay play at 6,700. Price tag's low enough. He'll be in to defend the rim, you would think. Certainly some risk of foul trouble with Giannis just kind of diving like a kamikaze at him. But yeah, I don't really have a big reason to get this much Poeltl. He projects okay enough. I assume works well with centers. Works well as center in the lineups rather that have the highest upside. So that's Poeltl, but really you could give me the same field ownership on Poeltl and I wouldn't really care. Wemby, San Antonio, 119.5 implied points. Chicago, 116.5. Chicago, a team that we like to attack, that the field generally also likes to tackle a lot. Sometimes it doesn't work out, though. Chicago, Washington, one of those spots where those guys, very chalky, but it didn't look that well projection, or didn't look that good projection-wise. Kind of didn't have crazy outliers there. This spot here, you have a lot of ownership for Wemby, 30% for the field. I'm getting him in 14%. I have Giannis higher, so I'm going to let my projections ride on that most likely. That said, making sure you get some Wemby in feels like a move. The field's maybe a little bit over-owning him. But honestly, on this slate, you get it. Match with Chicago, you get it. But I have him at 1.66 fantasy points per minute here, so you really can't get much higher. Obviously, you can go nuts on any slate, but I feel like he's appropriately projected. If he hits the ceiling, he hits the ceiling. But I think right now he's getting played for the ceiling. That's a little bit scary, I think. For Devin Vassell, 29% for the field, 23% for me. So basically with the field on him a little bit lower, I feel like for him and Wemby, happy to get as much as I get him, but the field's really high on both, and I don't know, you need to be high on both. Jeremy Sohan back in. Having him in a little bit here, been a decent usage guy. The rates are starting to come down a little bit with Vassell back in. He's now at 20% usage. He'll be owned 16% of the time today. I got him in 15% of my lineups. Kamikaze Giannis is a scary thought. I mean, look, he's a big guy. I say that you wouldn't want him coming at anything, I think. Army-wise, you could swat down planes left and right. He doesn't even have to be in the plane. He could just swat down the plane. For Chris Paul, 15% sim ownership for me. It's 12% for the field. Not a priority play, but getting him normally there. Just a good spot for Chicago overall. High total here with the 119.5 for the Spurs. I feel like you don't normally see them get above 115 too often, so I get going here. Just a lot of ownership. And again, people do play the matchup a little bit more. I think the ownership projections for Stokastic account for the fact that people love to play Washington. People love to play Chicago. You do get a pace up spot normally, a little bit of a softer defense normally. But if the total's not crazy high, you don't have to force your way to these guys, but the field will force away these guys tonight. And it is a high enough total. I get it. Chicago, 116.5 on their side. No Ayo Dosunmu still here. Everybody's kind of appropriately priced for that. Nikola Vucevic just shy of 9K. Levine over 8K at 8,200. Giddey at 7,700. Kobe White at 6,900. Don't think there's much juice here to be squeezed from these guys, these price tags. That said, people be playing Wemby and Vassell so much. Playing a bull on the way back be kind of logical, but not a priority for me. Dallas, 113.5 implied points. Memphis, 118.5 implied points. PJ Washington looks pretty good. Gets a big boost up with no Kyrie and no Luka. Obviously, a lot of usage go around with those guys out. And PJ Washington loves to get shots when he can. So I'm at about a 1.04 fantasy point per minute pace today. Dinwiddie projected for a little bit less minutes as a result of being the maybe not starting, I think is maybe the main thing here. We did see last game Jaden Hardy coming in for Dinwiddie. That's not good to see. Dinwiddie could start the second half. It might not be an issue. His rates take a big enough jump up. I do have him decently projected, though, here at 33 compared to Stokastic's 30.9. And I'm still only getting him at 2.7% of lineups. So when you have the value for Cole Anthony, you have the value for D'Angelo Russell right now. I think you get Dinwiddie less naturally with his price tag coming up. But if those guys, you just want to pivot to him, I think Dinwiddie, if he's starting, looks like an okay play, and he has produced pretty well in the year. I'm not really sure why he got the hook last game for Jaden Hardy. He didn't play great in that first half, but he wasn't like an albatross. The team just kind of sucked, but he did get benched, so keep that in mind. Quentin Grimes, 29% for me, 7% for the field. Talked about him already. Does soak up a lot of usage with Kyrie and Luka off the court. Basically, for Quentin Grimes at this point, I think he's a better player than the field usually does. Shooting guard, small forward also helps out a little bit for him. Been shooting really well in the year, 61.8% true shooting. Probably due to regress a little bit on that at some point, but he's been great, honestly, with Luka and Kyrie off the court in a larger sample size. Game to game, though, sometimes he can fall short of it. So a little bit of a big stand by me here at 4x the field. But honestly, this price tag, I like the price tag at 5,500 for him, so I'm okay with it. Derek Lively, if he's in, looking okay here. If he's not in, Daniel Gafford going to look a lot better. 24% Lively exposure for me compared to 19% for the field. Lively, nice price tag for him. That's basically the reasons why. He does play a little bit better with Luka and Kyrie off the court, but I don't think I adjusted his rates for today, so it doesn't really matter for me. Memphis, no Morant, no Bane. As a result, Jaren Jackson looking chalky again, 21.6% for the field. I'm getting him in 15%. Field a little bit lower on Scottie Pippen, 8% for the field, 20% for me. The rates for Pippen take a pretty big jump up. I'd have him at 1.17 fantasy points per minute today when accounting for that team total and the matchup. And, of course, no Bane, no Morant. So for Scottie Pippen, I think he's a good play at 6,200. He's another one of those value-adjacent guys. Your Cole Anthony, your D'Angelo Russell. Pairing them with Pippen, I think, looks like a pretty good build for me today. Besides that, not getting a lot here. Getting Brandon Clark. just kind of make up for the fact there isn't great value on the slate at 3,900. 17% for me, but 22% for the field. Everybody else here, I mean, Jalen Wells, I know people like as a real life player for fantasy. I don't really see the upside that much, but he is shooting guard, small forward at 5,300. You can get here. Jackson's the big stand. I kind of feel like Jackson looks overowned, but I'm okay with getting 20% of him. 25, 33 starts to get a little bit high for me. I feel like people always get Pippen wrong when he's in situations like tonight, like him as well. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, when you have one of Bane or Morant in, I usually don't want to play Pippen. Sometimes I'll spike a ceiling and it'll work out. When you get both guys out, though, like, the point guard minutes have to go somewhere. And, you know, Kennard's banged up too. And obviously not that he's a point guard, but he is like one of those guys that could be a shot creator, a secondary, tertiary, backup kind of shot creator. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I like Pippen as a good play, but yeah, just they have no point guards, so that's it for me. Clippers, Kawhi back in here. Kawhi played just shy of 20 minutes, I believe, the other day. Projected for 23.9 today. As a result, these guys were priced for life without Kawhi. None of these guys got jumped. Yeah, I saw he got upgraded to questionable. I mean, you'll see if he goes. He was doubtful, got upgraded. It doesn't really matter. It was really more the main point, though. The Bane and Morant part matters a lot more. The Luke Kennard part. For the Clippers here, though, really don't think these guys are playable. 1% of Harden for me, 1% of Zubac, 2% of Powell. Getting Kawhi back in, great for the team, great for their prospects, not great for where they've been priced, which is a life without Kawhi this entire season. Minnesota on their side. Anthony Edwards, 6% for the field, 4% for me. Randall, 7% for the field, 5% for me. Oscar Thompson out. It's going to make Tobias Harris and those guys chalkier. I'll talk about that more in the deeper dive. I'm not going to go back because I don't have any updated data anyway. Nas Reed, 11% for him, 11% for the field. Jaden Daniels, I'm getting 13%. Jaden McDaniels, 13%. Grits of the field's 12. Not big stands for Minnesota. I think they're all decent enough tournament plays to mix in, but the field's kind of got them appropriately owned. So mix them in. That's basically that. And if you're playing a late slate, not even going to talk about it because it's not on the FanDuel slate or the DK slate. The minute Miami, Sacramento, no Jimmy Butler. As a result, Tyler Hero looks okay. Bam looks okay. The other guys, nobody projected for huge minutes. Sacramento side looks better to me. Sabonis high upside. Fox high upside. Malik Monk, decent upside. Keegan Murray, they all look okay. Let's go down to beta, guys. Let's get some bets in. See what we got going on here. And, of course, let's learn about the world of Unabated and their conditional NBA projections. Presenting spots for the show. Go check them out. Learn about those data points and all that cool stuff, right? Parts in your life. You want some real-time updates? Get them for yourself at Unabated. Click buttons. Zion in? No. But maybe one day Zion's playing 5-on-5. We actually might have to rule him in on the conditional projections one of these days. Get real-time NBA news. Don't even have to go on Twitter anymore. You don't want to see people filleting Elon Musk or Elon Musk filleting himself. Get your Discord alerts through Unabated. Grass. Oh my God. I didn't yell grass. Sorry. That's on me. Hashtag grass. There we go. All right. And you can chat all day. You chat to the boys. You know talk dirty to them. I'm sure they love it. Unabated.com/NBA. Great projections. That's the main thing here. Great tool as well to get your bets in. We're going to simulate these lineups out. Of course, pulling the Unabated conditional NBA projections here. We're going to leave everybody. It's a Q tag right now. Guys like RJ Barrett, Joel Embiid, Miles McBride, Kelly Oubre, D'Angelo Russell, Ben Simmons, and Karl-Anthony Towns. We're going to leave them all out right now. So let's sim the players we know, the lineups we know. Let's see what we get with Unabated. The vid makes you want to fillet yourself. There we go. And look, the people love the graphs. The people love the graphs. All right, let's see what we got here. Pulling every lineup or every bet, rather. Of course, we're going to do a DFS lineup sim as well with Stokastic's data coming up. You saw my sim data. I'll show you the unencumbered Stokastic version of things in a moment. But let's get our bets in first. All right, best bets right now. Mason Plumlee, despite being projected to play more, as I mentioned, it's still only about 21 minutes in Stokastic data. Now in ETR's data and Unabated's data as well. Under 5.5 points for Mason Plumlee today, -120 odds on DK Sportsbook. It's a 13.1% EV. Doesn't look good to go on your pick'em sites or FanDuel, but it is good to go on DK Sportsbook again for Plumlee under 5.5 points. Luke Kennard under 11.5 points. That one's good to go on your pick'em sites. 12% EV for both for Luke Kennard today. Luke Kennard's points under, also playable on DK, under 11.5 points there at -125. So Luke Kennard under 11.5 points, good wherever you can bet it. Najee Marshall under 11.5 points at minus 102 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. It gets you 11.6% EV. You don't want it on your Pick'ems, don't want it on DK Sportsbook, but FanDuel Sportsbook, Najee Marshall under 11.5 points looks pretty good. Klay Thompson over 17.5 points. Plus 100 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook gets you 8.7% EV. Looks bettable as well on DK Sportsbook, 8.6% EV there for over 16.5 points at minus 125. But take the over 17.5 at plus 100. Unabated today has them projected for 18.7 points. Very narrative based, but they want Norm Powell. All right. I don't know about that, man. Norm Powell playing him versus the Thunder was one of the worst plays of the year. Gary Trent under 9.5, and he's not priced for that. Like, I wouldn't play him. You want to bet him, you can. But when you get Kawhi back in, wait till the price tag comes down, I think. Then you play him, sure. Gary Trent under 9.5 points, minus 105 odds on DK Sportsbook gets you 8.5% EV. Doesn't look bettable anywhere else. Donovan Clingan. Weirdly, Robert Williams being phased out of the rotation here, getting an over on his points, with Clingan being now the guy playing center. That's when it's not DeAndre Ayton out there. Over 4.5 points for him on Underdog gets you 8.4% EV. So the higher on 4.5 points on Underdog. And Jalen Duren over 9.5 points on minus 118 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook gets you 8.1% EV. That's Jalen Duren over 9.5 points, minus 118 odds. Rebounds coming up next. Of course, Unabated taking their data, taking their projections, and simming them out 10,000 times to find you the best bets, and they resorted too beautifully, so that worked out well. Let me make sure we got everything, though, because I think it just got most of that Memphis-Dallas game. Pull it all in. That's what she said. Let's bring back That's What She Says. You're in 2025. I think we're ready for more That's What She Says. Najee Marshall over 2.5 rebounds. That looks good to go on PrizePicks. Not anywhere else. But Najee Marshall, if you're on PrizePicks, one of the best bets of the day. 23.8% EV for Najee Marshall over 2.5 rebounds on PrizePicks. Monty Morris under 1.5 rebounds. Good to go at 18.9% EV and minus 130 odds on DK Sportsbook. Not good on your Pick'em sites and not good on FanDuel. Not available on FanDuel. So take Monty Morris under 1.5 rebounds on DK if you can get it. Plus 130. Jalen Wells under 4.5 rebounds. Looking good on PrizePicks. 15.6% EV for Jalen Wells under 4.5 rebounds on there. DK Sportsbook minus 125 odds gets you 12.6% EV for Jalen Wells under 4.5 rebounds. And on FanDuel under 4.5 rebounds at minus 134 odds gets you 9.2% EV. Harrison Barnes over 3.5 rebounds plus 134 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook gets you 15.3% EV. Still playable as well on DK Sportsbook. 10.3% EV on over 3.5 rebounds there at plus 124 odds. So plus 134, plus 134 for Harrison Barnes. Looking good in his over 3.5 rebounds. Jaren Jackson under 7.5 rebounds. Good to go on PrizePicks. 14.5% EV. You don't want it anywhere else, though. But Jackson under 7.5 rebounds. He does rebound less, probably because of all the usage he has to take on when Bane and Morant are off the court. Did notice that with his rates. So taking the under on rebounds here works pretty well. He's just a shitty rebounder for a guy who's such a great defender. I feel like usually that does go hand in hand a little bit more. Zach Edey, 12.8% EV on under 8.5 rebounds for him at minus 115 odds on DK Sportsbook. Also looks good on PrizePicks and Underdog as well. So your pick'em site's good for Zach Edey too, under 8.5 rebounds. Daniel Gafford under 5.5 rebounds, expecting Lively in here. Daniel Gafford under 5.5 at minus 106 odds, 12% EV. You don't want it on your pick'ems, but you do want it on FanDuel with that minus 106 odds. Let's sim assists. Bring back That's What She Said. That's What She Said. I don't know if women would ever want That's What She Said back. I think that they probably feel that that's misogynistic, would be my take in 2025. Not my take, but my take on how it would be perceived, maybe. Who knows? They don't want you speaking for him. Devin Vassell, 19.7% EV on under 3.5 assists, plus 114 odds on DK Sportsbook. Good to go for Devin Vassell, under 3.5 assists. John Conchar, under 3.5 assists. Good to go on PrizePicks. 18.8% EV for John Conchar, under 3.5 assists on PrizePicks. Scottie Pippen Jr., and under here, hate to see that, given that I like Pippen today. Under 6.5 assists for Scottie Pippen, gets a 17.1% EV on PrizePicks. Also good to go at 16.2% EV on DK Sportsbook. FanDuel has it too, under 6.5 assists for Scottie Pippen. Minus 134 odds gets you 10.7% EV. Another under for Monte Morris, under 2.5 assists for him. Minus 140 odds on DK Sportsbook. 13.3% EV for Monte Morris there. We got 10.1% EV for Nikola Vucevic, over 3.5 assists. Plus 130 odds to get that 10.1% EV for Nikola Vucevic over 3.5 assists. Jake LaRavia over 3.5 assists, minus 132 odds, 9.2% EV on that for FanDuel Sportsbook, not available anywhere else. And Luke Kennard, last but not least for our assist bets, plus 114 odds on DK Sportsbook gets you 8.6% EV for Luke Kennard over 4.5 assists. Been upgraded to questionable, and that's a lot of assists for Luke Kennard. It's a lot of minutes for Luke Kennard. Maybe I was wrong here. Luke Kennard played 27 minutes. That does maybe cut into Scottie Pippen a little bit. It's a big minute line. I did not expect to see that many minutes for old Luke Kennard. Like your mama joke? Yeah, but you can just say that back to anything. It doesn't even have to be a joke. She'd be like, oh, that pizza's pretty greasy. Oh, your mama. Like, yeah, you can say that anything. That would actually probably would apply. It's what she said in The Rock's voice. That's what, yeah, I mean, The Rock, I'm sure, at one point loved a good that's what she said joke. But now he's now he's a girl dad. And you can't do that anymore. He's also apparently like an actual tribal chief of Samoa. So what I was seeing on some article recently, which was a credible article, which I think I knew already, but because they mentioned, I think, in that WWE angle last year. But yeah, for all the Roman Reigns tribal chief stuff, The Rock, a real tribal chief, was appointed by the King of Samoa, I believe, back in the 2000s. So keep that in mind. Something to strive for. We got to look at unabated lines. So we got to look at sim lines in a moment here, guys, if you're tuning in for that. But of course, unabated lines, one more round here with PRAs. Thanks to our friends at Unabated. And of course, if you want all the markets, all the bets, you want to play with the conditional projections, rule guys in, rule guys out, see the EV you get on that. Check it out for yourself. I only show you kind of the primary markets here, your Pick'em sites and your DraftKings Sportsbook, your FanDuel Sportsbook. But go for yourself, $30 off, promo code SPLASH at Unabated right now. Go to unabated.com/NBA and learn more. And check the link in the description too. It takes you right over there. And of course, supports the show directly if you buy a membership. So really, please support the show. They help me put it on every day. They're great people to work with, and I would love to show them that we got some buying power on the YouTube channel if you appreciate this content. Monte Morris under 10.5 PRAs, minus 120 odds on DK Sportsbook gets you a juicy 19.5% EV for Monte Morris under 10.5 PRAs. John Conchar under 18.5 PRAs, looking good on Underdog and PrizePicks Pick'ems there. 15.3% EV for both. Not good on DK, not good on FanDuel. Anthony Simons under 30.5 PRAs, 12.9% EV on your Pick'em sites. Both PrizePicks and Underdog, same line there. Under 30.5 PRAs for Anthony Simons. Looking good on DK Sportsbook as well. Under 29.5 PRAs, that line moved. And minus 105 odds gets you 10.4% EV. But fade Simons, I agree. Jeremy Sohan over 22.5 PRAs, 10.9% EV for your Pick'em sites. Once again, PrizePicks and Underdog, still bettable on DK Sportsbook where it's 8% EV for Jeremy Sohan over 22.5 PRAs at minus 125, and slightly better on FanDuel as well, 10% EV there for over 22.5 PRAs at minus 120. Of course, points plus rebounds plus assists if you're not familiar with the world of abbreviations here in PRAs. Tim Hardaway, junior, not senior, under 17.5 PRAs. Good to go in Underdog, not on PrizePicks. 10.9% EV for Tim Hardaway Jr. under 17.5 PRAs. Chris Murray over 7.5 PRAs, 9.7% EVs, back in the rotation now. Not doing a whole lot, but enough to get this PRAs bet. Looking at on PrizePicks and Underdog for Chris Murray over 7.5 PRAs. And last but not least, got Jalen Wells under 23.5 PRAs. Good to go at minus 115 odds on DK Sportsbook. You still get 8.1% EV on your Pick'em sites as well, under 23.5 PRAs there. And those are your best bets right now. Getting more to come on Unabated. Really, the big advantage you're going to have is when guys get ruled in, guys get ruled out, be able to transact quickly on those bets using the conditional projections. Go check it out for yourself at Unabated. Again, great sponsor for this show, great partner for me, so please check it out if you want to get better at betting. And really, if you're playing DFS, like even slates like this one, the $5 slate tonight, 100K up top, having money that you're making in betting does help you put in more entries to those kind of tournaments. And really, I try to care the most about the people that I know are like not 150 maxing everything. I'm sure a lot of the viewership here, some of you guys are, I'm sure, but some of the guys here, a lot of 20 maxers. So if you want to take a step up here, one way to do that is to build your bankroll with betting and approaching it intelligently, not just kind of parlay bullshit. Building stuff with Unabated, Odd Shopper, similar product as well. But two great products. Check it out if you want to get better at betting that I would give my personal cosign to, that you could hop in and not get slaughtered. That's always the goal. All right, let's do some DFS lineups here. Mentioned Stokastic. Let's go check them out now. Of course, Unabated, Stokastic, two of the greatest products in the space that you will never be led astray by, and that's really the most important to me, doing this content for you guys every day. I don't look like an asshole giving you shitty products. There's some people in the space I probably wouldn't even work with because I don't think their products are good. So that's a legit thing for me, and Hope that matters for you guys. Hope that shines through here. Let's build 10,000 lineups or 5,000 lineups and have to compete 10,000 times. Got a ticket for the 60K fadeaway. There you go. Hey, tickets, always good. The Rock visits the Bad Islands. Oh, does he? I don't know. I mean, The Rock visits everything. He does that. Tribal Chief versus Solo Sikoa tonight. I'm just curious to see what Netflix does with Monday Night Raw today. Honestly, if you guys saw it, there's like a teaser that went around the cold open for the thing where it's like very Netflix production of Triple H narrating the history of WWE and like wrestling as an art form. Really kind of got my goosebumps going a little bit as somebody that both has been a fan since I was a kid, worked there. My first job out of college, if you know this fun fact about me, not ran publicity, but basically did. I was a PR coordinator at WWE in a 3-person department. My boss got fired there. I ended up having to run publicity basically until we hired another replacement. So it was like a weird time for me where I was legit just out of college and doing media with like John Cena and Edge and all of that, and really learned to respect the craft. Like Edge honestly is one of the guys I think who made me feel the most, because like it was after he had the spinal stuff, his first bout of like spinal injury things, and like the sacrifice that guy would have just to get out there and do things. And like at that point, that was when he was the full rated R superstar thing, and like having sex with Lita fake on screen. Like that was that time period. But you know, like he got really fucked up from those TLC matches and things. So look, support wrestling is always what I'll say. But even if you're a casual fan, I'd watch Raw tonight. Probably some cool shit. I do mean cope. Yeah, I worked in Connecticut, worked in Stamford, reverse commuted from, I was living in my first apartment with my friends from high school in Queens. It was awful. Reverse commuting from Queens to Stamford is one of the worst things I've ever done. It would be like fucking an hour minimum every day to get out there, taking the BQE to like I-95 or the Triborough, whatever the fuck it was. And then then coming back, like it was so bad. I remember one day was when I decided to leave, and like, or really was like, I can't keep doing this. Was when like it was so snowy out and they hadn't like paved hadn't plowed I-95. I swerved like from fucking my little shitty Toyota Echo that my mom made me get when I was in college. Swerved from right to left, left to right. And it was like one of the scariest things ever. So me in Connecticut, not doing well, even though I'm sure we have many CT guys in the chat, including our guy Robert from the Turd, and I guess Mike W too. We got Cade Cunningham here, your number one ROI lineup. Cade Cunningham, D'Angelo Russell, Oscar Thompson, who I guess is out, so we're going to have to get a projection update here before I do the deeper dive in a moment. Brandon Clark, Joel Embiid, Anthony Simons, PJ Washington, Day'Ron Sharpe, your number one ROI lineup. Number two, hopefully we'll get some without Oscar Thompson here so you get a read on lineups without him because he won't be going, it looks like. Manuel Quickly, Cole Anthony, Denny Avdia, Tobias Harris. That lineup's going to look even better with Thompson out. Joel Embiid, Damian Lillard, Brandon Clark, Day'Ron Sharpe. Got to say, I would not get Lillard once on this slate, so just going to see that. I am higher on Giannis, as I mentioned, higher on him than Wemby, but you're getting Lillard here in your number two ROI lineup. Quickly, I like, though. Quickly, I think is a little bit underpriced for how he's played so far this year. Anthony Simons, D'Angelo Russell, Jalen Wells, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, Cole Anthony, Jaren Jackson Jr., Day'Ron Sharpe. Pretty normal lineup here. Sharpe, you're doing backup value again. Seems like Stokastic, really like Sharpe as value right now, but that might move around again with all the Q-Tag guys we have. Something better could open up. Shaden Sharpe, two Sharpes here. Shaden Sharpe, D'Angelo Russell, Denny Avdia, Brandon Clark, Joel Embiid, Damian Lillard again, Devin Vassell, Day'Ron Sharpe. So Day'Ron Sharpe in all 5 out of top 5, including this one. Cade Cunningham, Cole Anthony, Denny Avdia, Oscar Thompson, who again will not be in now that he's out. Joel Embiid, Devin Vassell, John Conchar, and Day'Ron Sharpe again. So, all right. Surprised with the amount of Day'Ron Sharpe. Like, there's better values out there. But hey, again, these are just stochastic projections. I have no influence over these. It's just straight up what the machine gives you. One thing I mentioned here, which apparently helped one of our guys finish top 3 in a tournament, talking about it for NFL. If you hate a projection, you don't agree with the guy, and you're using the Sims tools, the first thing you do is do the ROI boost. You knock the guy down that way if you just want to get less lineups of them. Second thing you do is just knock their projection down entirely. Like if you hate Joel Embiid in the slate, knock him down to 50, rerun it again, see how much comes off, knock him down to 45, see what happens there. That's one way to change your projections around, change the entire sim around. Because people, I think, like sometimes want the sim to just be your final product. If you're using unique projections, you could do it that way, like I do. But if you're like just using stochastic sims, trying to manipulate it a little bit, not too much, manipulating a little bit there is kind of a good thing to do. How many minutes is Day'Ron Sharpe getting? I think it's projected for like 20. Let's see. Shaden Sharpe. Projected for 18 minutes, and he's been about a 1.06 fantasy point per minute guy this year. But to me, I only have projected at 19.9 fantasy points. I'm lower than Stokastic is on him. Again, because them having a longer-term sample size, he was more productive per minute last year, has not been quite as good this year. So I'm naturally low on Sharp. They're high on him. I would knock him down. I mean, Stokastic has him 22.3. I have him at 19.9. That's probably the difference between getting him in a lot of lineups and getting him in a few. So I'm not a big Sharp fan tonight, but again, there's no value, so I get it. Joel Embiid, your highest ROI player right now, 2.5% ROI for him. Nobody else in the slate is positive, so keep that in mind for Embiid if he does go today with his Q tag. Day'Ron Sharp, number 2 ROI, technically at a negative 0.8%. Not a lot of value. He's 3,800. That's a logic there. You are getting a lot of Brandon Clark, so I think it's mostly this pay down center option here. Filling center with a $3,800 guy, $3,900 guy looks pretty good. For the sim, Brandon Clark, a negative 5% ROI, number 4 guy on the slate. Anthony Simons, number 3, is a negative 3.8% ROI. John Conchar, number 5, negative 5.5. Devin Vassell, same negative 5.5% ROI. But technically, those guys were all the top 6. Embiid, Day'Ron Sharp, Anthony Simons, Brandon Clark, John Conchar, Devin Vassell, or Vassell. Exposure-wise, you're getting less Cole Anthony than I'm going to get. 63.3% Cole Anthony in the top 150 lines for Stokastic right now. Flat with the field at 63.2. Joel Embiid, you're getting 3x the field on Joel Embiid. 63% of him compared to 20% for the field. I mean, the matchup versus Mason Plumlee, if you're going to talk about like the basketball theory of it, obviously the data is the data. You should smash Mason Plumlee in the face. Like Nurkic at least could put up a big wall for him to kind of try to stop him from something. It's a lot of Embiid, though. It's a lot of Embiid. D'Angelo Russell, 54% compared to the field 53. I was getting so much more of these guys, Cole Anthony and Russell. So that's a difference in my situation than Stokastic has right now. Anthony Simons, 49% for the top 150 lineups here compared to the field's 26. They love Simons. I am low on Simons. That spooks me. He's been good lately. Jeremy Grant's out, but the rates just don't support him being much better. So I'm not there. That's a lot of Anthony Simons. Devin Vassell, I'm okay with that one. 46% for the top 150 lineups, 28% for the field. And so Tobias Harris, 41% for the top 150 lineups compared to 27% for the field. Your highest leverage guys, probably similar to what we just saw. Embiid, 42% leverage. Day'Ron Sharp, 24% leverage. Leverage, of course, meaning the ownership you're having above the field in the top 150 lineups here that we selected. Anthony Simons, 22% leverage. Devin Vassell, 18% leverage. Tobias Harris, 14%. And Pascal Siakam, 12%. Your most negative leverage play is Giannis, really low on Giannis, and you were getting Lillard. So Stokastic sim seemingly pushing you a little bit more towards Lillard than Giannis. That said, Giannis going to be 35% owned now in the projections. So you're getting definitely lower in the field here. Giannis is a chalk play, and that's a pretty chalky play. Wemby, you're lower on the field than him as well. So maybe you're just not paying up too much for anything besides Embiid here. Wemby, 28% for the field, 17% exposure. Stokastic's top 150 lineups, negative 12% ROI or 12% leverage on that. Cade Cunningham, negative 12% leverage rounded up, 24% of the field, 13% for the top 150. Naz Reid, negative 8%. Taurean Prince, negative 7%. Klay Thompson, negative 7%. So splash plays of the day, guys, for me. Again, you saw Stokastic's taking it. It's a little bit different than how I view it. Follow your heart here. Always feel free to trust the site. Ran by a team of professional players, such as me, one guy trying to make it work. But I am one guy here trying to make it work. So please show some love before we get to our splash plays of the day. Subscribe down below. I have to cough so bad. Been having to do it for like an hour and I just didn't want to mute. Please subscribe down below with the like button, leave a comment. Winter fucking season does not end for parents here. Me specifically. Underdog, $1,000 in bonus cash. Promo code SPLASH on there. Stokastic, 15% off all their data and tools. Promo code SPLASH. Link in the description to check that out. Of course, I'll be on Stokastic in about 5 minutes for the Deeper Dive show. Unabated, $30 off. Great sponsor for me. Great betting product for you. Check it out. Link in the description. Go to unabated.com/NBA. Use the promo code SPLASH. Get $30 off. And gamble responsibly. I'll say that before we do the rest of it. And it's always money time here. Splash plays for the day. Cole Anthony, D'Angelo Russell. Assuming that Russell's going. Those guys, to me, top values. I've been better projected. I think the rates support them going higher. I would throw Denny Avdia in that mix as well. I think those 3 guys are kind of the core plays that I would build around today for whatever you're doing. Besides that, I would say Goga Bitadze, another play I'll plant the flag for as a splash play of the day. Or splash play of the day. I guess a better way to put that. Don't go crazy on him, though, because Goga Bitadze is so low owned. But if they hang in that game today for Orlando, like it's going to be because Bitadze and Cole Anthony had decent days, would be my guess. And And I think Giannis over Wemby would be it, though the ownership for Giannis moved around and the semi just ran. So that might change, but I think that's more than enough. That's like fucking 6 plays. So there's definitely a lot of those guys are core plays I'll be building around today. Hope it works out. Once again, gamble responsibly, even if it's always money time here. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splashplay Pod. Hit that like and subscribe before you go. About 60% of people here that watch these videos right now are not subscribed, and that's insane. Help out the little engine that could channel here and subscribe down below. Get us to our 1,000 subs so I can start showing you ads like you're all dreaming of. And I'll be back tomorrow with more, guys. So, hey, check me out on the deeper dive in about 5 minutes. Check me out tomorrow at 4 p.m. Splashplay NBA, 4 p.m. Monday to Friday every day. I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days. Good luck. Bye-bye.